Hello everyone, I'm Lucinda and I'm with FrabJustCards.com. I live in lovely Williamsburg, Virginia, and I've just started a new YouTube channel dealing with card making. Welcome, and I do appreciate you stopping by. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'd love to show you new techniques, help you get started with card making, or help feed your interest in ongoing card making. So why don't we just get started? So the card we'll do today, I like to call it a vase card, and I give thanks to Jan Mansor Brown, Jane Dooley, and Tracy Allen for making this possible. To begin with, we'll add a top layer to our side fold card, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. This top panel was embossed with the painted texture embossing folder. It's added. I'm using Tombow glue here, which is not the glue of choice that I usually use, but you'll see I'll change that later on. So the next thing that we add are these 3 panels I'd made up using the Poppies DSP. The top panel we'll attach to the top of the card, and they'll be lined up down the front of the card. So here's laying out the top panel. Now I'll lay the bottom panel in place, trying to line it up side to side with an equal amount of border. And then lastly, we'll put on the 3rd panel in between the 2 that are already in place. I'm using quite a bit of glue because these textures are a little bit more difficult to glue down because of the embossing folder imprints upon them. Finally, I just lay a large acrylic block over the top, and I'm showing you the Painted Poppies stamp set, of which I will be taking some of the stamps to make some flowers for the inside of the card. We'll put that aside. Using a piece of basic white, I'm going to take Memento ink and stamp out first one of the largest poppies from the set. And I won't show you all 4, but then I'll go ahead and do 4 more of the smaller poppies. Once that's finished and those poppy images have been allowed to dry a bit, I do take some real red and put real red either fully over the front of the large poppies or in little sprinkles over the top of the smaller poppies. Now let's go back to our front of our card while those dry. I'm attaching a sentiment. This sentiment will go on the front of the card. I tend to use quite a few dimensionals when I do this. And it says, "I'm so glad it's your birthday because I get to tell you how wonderful you are." So we attach that to the front of the card. Now it's time to go ahead and die cut out the images we've just stamped. I have some already cut out for you. You see the poppies the large poppies and the small poppies that we did before. So now let's start on the mechanism for the vase on the inside of the card. I line up my mechanism and I look to see what paper I might use on the front of this mechanism for the vase. And what I'll do is put a cutout from the Forever Fern set on the bottom, just as a little bit of a backdrop behind the card before I attach the mechanism. So I simply will take a bit of glue on the back of this die cut piece. It's a lovely green piece, an old olive, and we will put it all over the back because we want it to lay down pretty flat, and we'll just put it in place on the inside left panel of the card as shown. And then we'll go back and take a look at our mechanism again and see exactly how we're going to place that. So the mechanism is this strange shape, but what we have to do, it has a little 3/8 inch score line at the base of it, and I'm going to apply tear and tape over that piece so that we can attach it easily within the card and not have to worry about it coming loose. I use another acrylic block simply to tear off my tear and tape easily when I do that. Removing the backing from the tear and tape, what I'll do next is place this mechanism inside the card with the tape up, and this would be the back part of the vase over to the left, and I line it up on my grid paper so that I can make sure that it's a little bit higher than the bottom of the card, maybe just a little peak of the card showing through. Then I close that card and burnish it down with my finger first, and then burnish it down with my bone folder, and you'll see what happens when you open it up. It pulls where the score line over to the right a little bit, and I burnish that down as well. I'm showing you here that this is the paper I'm going to use on the front of the finished vase. I fold down those two tabs, making sure they're quite even on that vase mechanism with the side of that mechanism. And that leaves me a rectangle. It's roughly 3 inches by 2 1/4 inches. Burnish those fold lines down real well and take a look. And you'll see we will be attaching this over the top of itself inside and putting the piece of paper that we're going to use for the vase itself over the top. So here I attach that 2 1/4 inch by 3 inch piece of DSP over the top of the front of the vase. Now the front of the vase is now all the way to the left, all the way to the right, excuse me, and I just attach that down. Making sure everything's folded up completely upon the score lines that I made. Making sure also that the bottom of the vase itself sits equally with equidistance to the bottom of the card itself. So now I'm going to do one other little thing, which I forgot the first 2 times I did this card, and that's apply a little bit of good glue to either side of a very small piece that's only 1/2 inch by 2 inches, and it's just to hold this mechanism in place as the card is opened and closed. We want to make sure that's adhered down quite easily. And now using my silicone mat, so I make sure I don't get any of the tear and tape adhesive on my card, I'm going to apply tear and tape to these top sections of the vase mechanism, both tabs. Once that's done, I'm going to use my bone folder again to make sure the tear and tape is fast upon those tabs. Remove the backing of each small piece of tear and tape. And then I'm going to fold these tabs over, but I'm going to be very careful not to lay them on the card until the card is closed. I know I'm a little out of the picture here, but I move up a little bit so you can see I'm holding on quite well to that vase mechanism until the card is almost fully closed and it's lined up properly along the bottom of the card. Burnishing that down, and then you see the magic happens. When you open the card, a pop-up vase suddenly appears before one's eyes. Okay? So here, this is my first attempt where I had not put my little bar piece on the inside, but in a subsequent video I did. Now let's go ahead and decorate the inside of the card. I'm using a backing layer of Old Olive and using the second largest stitched rectangle for the back piece, and the third largest stitched rectangle for the white, basic white piece. I put those together, and that sits very nicely right inside where that vase mechanism piece pulls over to the right side panel. Lay that down, making sure you have a nice even border around at least the top, the bottom, and the right side, which pretty much makes a nice even border on the left side as well. We adhere that down. Then I'm using a simple happy birthday sentiment, and I'm going to glue that down. Of course, one could just go ahead and stamp whatever you wanted on the inside before doing this. I just had this sentiment handy. And then one of the poppies from that I had from an accessory when I bought the Painted Poppies stamp set. Taking one of those and gluing that poppy down just for a little internal decoration. Now the fun starts. Next we will think about decorating the inside of our card, the inside of the vase to be more specific. So what I need to do is attach some stems to the poppies that were cut out. The stems were made by gluing together quite firmly 2 pieces of old olive cardstock, letting it dry, and then cutting the stems into 1/4 inch strips. We want to attach the flower to our stem by applying a little bit of liquid glue to the upper part of the stem and attaching it to the back of the poppy. We've applied stems to the rest of our flowers. We've done some trimming up of the flowers, and we'll put the small ones in first. To do so, we actually attach with liquid glue the stem to the inside of the vase, not the back of the card, because we want that card to be able to open and close freely. So we have to attach these flowers actually to the front of the vase. Test that, make sure that fits well. Let's go ahead for a longer one that's hopefully been cut down to the right size. Looks like that'll work. Again, holding inside the front of the vase or vase, we will attach that larger poppy. Now, one thing that we have to check when we attach some larger flowers is that when you close the card, they don't actually wiggle out. Whoa, just a wee bit of that leaf is sticking out. So I need to move that over to the right just a fraction of an inch. And again, I'm not terribly happy with it, so we're going to sort of lift it up and reset it inside the card so that when it's closed, you don't have any leaves or flowers sticking above or off to the left side, or hitting the right side of your card as well. So we're going to put this one behind that one, make sure it's down far enough that we don't risk it popping up over the outside. I'm just checking placement to make sure it's okay, and indeed when we close it, nothing's sticking out top or sides. One last little bit of greenery, maybe right at the front of the vase. Wish I could think whether I want to call it a vase or a vase, but sorry for the different pronunciations. And we'll put that down inside, wipe off that little dab of glue, and hold it in place for just a few seconds until it has adhered. Okay, let's see what we've got now. We've got our card. When we close it, it lays nice and flat, but when we open it, we have a 3D pop-up vase. Going to put a few embellishments on the front. These are just some of our pearls from Stampin' Up. I thought they looked pretty with the red paper. So usually I'll do 3 or 5, as we've all been taught to do, or 7 or 9, but an odd number. However, once I have some of these pearls in place, I'm thinking we could probably do 2 more, so let's go with 5. Why not? where do we want to put it? Something up here. And the last one, we'll put that on panel number 2. So here's what we've got. We open it up, and we have a nice, lovely pop-up bunch of flowers on the inside. Nice, huh? Okay, now let's decorate our envelope with a few more of these small embellishments from the accessory pack that came with the poppies. I'm adding another image, similar, well, exactly the same as on the inside of the card, onto our envelope, putting that in place. And I thought it might be pretty to have another image on the back flap of the envelope as well. So let's go ahead and attach one of those as well. Here we go, a little liquid glue. And let's attach that down to our flap, just to dress it up a little bit more. A field of flowers. Okay, our card is basically absolutely done. I so appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for coming. See you later.